Segregation and acrimony within the polity of the Nigerian state due to the presidential seats rotating largely between the northern and the southern regions of the Nigeria is tensed. The same is true with governorship seats being rotated amongst larger ethnic senatorial zones of the Nigerian 36 states. It is important to set the agenda straight before the National Assembly, state assemblies, and the presidency to adopt rotational presidency and gubernatorial seats across the 6 geopolitical zones and the state senatorial zones respectively, as these have the potency to ensure one Nigeria, unity in diversity, tranquility, egalitarianism. So welcome to Spectacle on Television Nigerian. I am Daniel Atai. Stay with us, and after the short break, I shall introduce analysts in the studio who are nationalists to you. Welcome back. I have in the studio with me to look into this topic on discussion this afternoon, Honorable Ojukwu Nzube Ojukwu. Ojukwu Nzube Ojukwu is the grandson of the Biafran warlord Odumegwu Ojukwu Ikemba. He is also a political economist, and we will be joined soon also by a social political analyst and a human rights lawyer, Barrister Edward Omaga. Honorable, welcome to the studio.
Thank you.
Thank you. While we wait on Barrister to join us to give us the constitutional angle of the discussion today, we would like to take a preamble into the topic on discussion with this short clip. Nigeria is an important African nation with the potentials of population and material resources to play a major role in global politics. The country is multi-ethnic. Its main features include the existence of 3 major ethnic groups, each territorially exclusive and larger in population than many countries of the world. Languages varies with the groups, and so do religious practices. Particularly because of this peculiar feature of the Nigerian state, attempts to base its democracy on the models of the British parliamentary system and the US presidential or congressional system have met with failure, and the military have dominated most of the political processes. There have been separatist agitations by disgruntled groups and individuals, and a civil war was fought between 1967 and 1970. Now, the major aspects of politics in Nigeria since the country gained its independence from Britain in 1960, and particularly after the Biafran War, has been segregational, religiously sectional, and full of disparities in attaining true federal characters with powers, tranquility, and egalitarianism. Therefore, on Spectacle today, we wish to set the agenda for both the National Assembly and the Executive of the Federal Government of Nigeria to adopt a constitutional approach to democracy based on rotation of the presidency, state, gubernatorial, and other important offices among identifiable regional groupings of the Nigerian Federation and states respectively. There is no better time than now, since the Buhari's administration has recognized, for instance, our oneness, entity, and brotherhood in the fact and sense that even the Biafran veterans who were pardoned and committed to retirement by the Obasanjo's administration in the year 2000 were duly paid their entitlement of pensions, gratuity, and cognizances as Nigerians by this administration of President Muhammadu Buhari from 20th October 2017. In the same vein, former heads of states and presidents, General Ibrahim Babangida and General Olusegun Obasanjo, and also the Second Republic Governor of Kaduna State, Alhaji Balarabe Musa, have talked about the policy of construction, reintegration, and reconciliation of General Gowon and the late General Murtala Mohammed's administrations. However, both admins of IBB and OBJ were unable to achieve the reconstruction, reintegration, and reconciliation policy of General Gowon towards one unified Nigeria, though OBJ granted Biafran soldiers pardon and converted their dismissal to retirement in 2000, but never paid them their pension and gratuities. But this Buhari's administration has demonstrated the capacity of uniting this country by reintegrating them, reconciling them by paying their pensions. It is in this light that we saw hope for one Nigeria and now have to set the agenda for the National Assembly to, as a matter of urgency, follow the Gowon policies to enact and adopt rotational presidency for the Nigerian 6 geopolitical zones, adopt independent candidacy, as well as rotation of gubernatorial seats across senatorial zones in the 36 states of the country. You're welcome back. We are shooting this topic as agenda setting for the National Assembly, the presidency, and the various state assemblies in the 36 states of the country. And this is coming because at the moment, Nigeria as a state is more than just 3 ethnic groups, and then we also have 6 geopolitical zones. Not only north and the south like it was orally agreed before. And from the aspect of the law, like I said, we'll be expecting our human rights and constitutional lawyer to join us soon, either on phone or physically in the studio, Barrister Edward Omaga. Meanwhile, the lines will be displayed for you to make your input and give us also your opinion as soon as possible on the course of the analysis. What is your take? Should the National Assembly now adopt the concept of rotational presidency and gubernatorial seat across the 6 geopolitical zones and the states, respectively, state senatorial zones? Because some states you have senatorial zones where the larger ethnic groups are always, taking the day, and at the national level, you have just the northern state as well as the southern rotating the presidency among them, and it has caused acrimony within the Nigerian polity, and we wish that the National Assembly look into that and promulgate or enact a law
amend the constitution if possible, or yes, pass the bill for ascension so that we will have rotational presidency across the geopolitical zones, as well as independent candidacy, plus rotational of the gubernatorial seat across state levels. Welcome again, Mr. Ojukwu. I will start this way by, first of all, what do you think about the reintegration that Mr. President just did in October 20th, 2017 for the Biafran retirees by paying them their pension? Is that not commendable enough? What do you think about that?
Definitely, it should be commended.
Okay.
What Mr. President did, it's a good policy from his government, APC government, because when former President Gowon said no victor, no vanquish, we expected, it's long overdue, so we expected such compensations to be done to Nigeria, the Biafran soldiers. And for President Buhari to have done it is quite very commendable. And the people of Southeast, the people of old Biafra should appreciate him so much.
Okay. And then if you look at the segregation that cost, it was 2017 years after OBJ pardoned the retirees and pardoned the Biafran soldiers that compromised, and then their pensions were not paid. When Buhari administration came on board, he did that and paid them their pensions and gratuity, and those that have died also, their next of kin were collected as well as being paid. Should that not set the pace for indivisible Nigeria as a country?
Of course, that's, like I said, very much commendable. I also need to correct something.
Okay.
There was no compromise. Okay. The Biafran soldiers who fought for the liberation and freedom of the people of Biafra did that on good sportsmanship to defend their fatherland.
Yes.
Definitely anybody could have been, part of such. If your people called for it, you have to obey. So they should, for me, what the president did, quite very commendable and must be appreciated. And apart from that, a host of other things that these soldiers, some of them dead, some of them still alive, they've been able to be, they've been denied all these years. It's not 17 years, 1970 to today. That's over 40 years.
What I mean is that when they were pardoned, they were pardoned in the year 2000 by the Obasanjo administration. And then, when you were pardoned, he converted their pardon to retirement. That means they have been retired. We are talking about not those who fought as Biafrans. The Nigerian armies from the southeastern region that compromised, you understand, and the police that compromised and joined the Biafran. So they were pardoned, then paid their gratuity and pensions, and then reintegrated.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. I like the discussion. You don't use the word compromise. They didn't compromise.
Okay.
They were called by their people
to
defend the territorial integrity, the boundaries of the good people of the Biafran land. And they obeyed in 1967 to 1970. What I expected federal government earlier than now was to have absorbed, they would have absorbed them, get them integrated into the Nigerian military after the collapse of the defunct Biafran city. Now, apart from that, their pensions, those of them that have been retired, should be paid. Their entitlements should be paid. Some of them that were still young, as at the time the war ended, should also be allowed to continue what they've started in Nigeria. Because mind you, those soldiers actually fought for the institution of the military in this country. Right from 1960, during the independence, if you watch, majority of the Nigerian soldiers were the Biafrans. They were the Igbos. Not minding the fact that they wanted to succeed in 1967 and it didn't work out. Now, going by former President Gowon, who said no victor, no vanquish, reconstruction and all of them. Those words should be maintained.
It's a reconstruction, reintegration, and reconciliation.
Do you think they were reintegrated into the military after the war?
That was not done. They were retired. And then I'm talking about Obasanjo retired them.
Without pay?
Without pay.
No compensation, no pay?
For 17 years.
For 17 years.
Then Buhari came. That's what the angle I want us to take this from.
Quite very commendable.
Now, he came, looked at the blueprint of what happened and what should happen. And for tranquility and egalitarianism, he said these people should be paid.
Yeah.
And he paid them. And we are looking from that angle that now that they've been reintegrated and paid, compensated as well, from there, should the National Assembly look into what the president himself has started to make the Nigerian state one Nigeria by rotating the presidential seat across geopolitical zones? That is the topic on discussion. At the same time, gubernatorial seat of state levels. Across senatorial zones. Is it a thing that will be very difficult for the National Assembly to do?
I don't think so, because kudos to President Muhammadu Buhari, who has done a very good job. But the National Assembly, in fact, not just the National Assembly, the legislatures, the executives and the judiciary, all the three arms should emulate what the President Buhari did. Okay. There should be, apart from pardoning them, paying them, Nigeria is a heterogeneous population.
Yes.
We have over 300 tribes in this country.
Yeah.
The leadership of this country was not meant for one particular tribe.
Yes.
So every part of or segment of this country should be part of the policies, formulations, and leadership institutions, and the developments in this country. For instance, for how many years have we had a one-sided presidency? For over 30 years, it's been Hausa Fulani. It's been not. Okay. How many presidents have we produced from the Niger Delta? How many have we produced from the Benues, from the Midwest? You understand? So there should be a balanced leadership core in this country. The National Assembly, as a matter of urgency, should promulgate a law. That's my candidate advice. They should promulgate a law and go by what Mr. President Muhammadu Buhari did, by getting the zones, the 6 geopolitical zones, to fully participate in the presidential capacities in this country. There should be a presidency from the southeast. There should be a president from the southwest. There should be a president from the south, northeast, northwest. The 6 geopolitical zones should be given such equal opportunity to produce the presidents in this country.
After eight years.
After eight years. But for it depends. These are some of these issues. I think the National Assembly should be able to sit down and iron it. Okay. Whether it's going to be 8 years, whether it's going to be 5 years single term. I remember during the presidential era of
Jonathan.
Not Jonathan, former late President Umar Musa Yar'Adua. Okay. Such a thing came up. I remember the then chairman of the PDP, Vincent Ogbulafo, made a comment. He said the presidency for him should be 5 years term. Okay. After single 5 years, then go. So every 6 geopolitical zones should be able to produce within the 5-year framework.
Okay. And
at that point, let me tell you, the insecurity challenges we have in Nigeria will be addressed.
Okay.
Then the issue of marginalization will also be addressed. Nigeria is a cosmopolitan state. The United States of America bears almost the same nature with Nigeria, but they follow duly with the institutions and the structures. Okay. But in Nigeria, it's one-sided.
And that is why we are here.
And that's why we're having problems. You see agitation, IPOB people are agitating, Amoteku people from the southwest, then Arewa from the north, and so many other small ethnic groups that should be given. In fact, let me tell you that I was shocked when I was told that the former speaker Yakubu Gowon, not Yakubu Gowon, the former speaker, the one that just handed over of the House of Representatives. From Bauchi, also from Bauchi State.
I will remember.
I was told that for the fact that he came from a senatorial, a sectional part of Bauchi State, that he can never be a senator, he can never be a governor, because his tribe does not constitute the reasonable number of people that can make him a senator or a governor. And it's quite very appalling. So that means the highest level of political anticipation for him should be House of Rep. It's quite, and imagine the intellectual capacity of such a young man and what he was able to do as a speaker in National Assembly. So there should be spread in the leadership capacities in this country, both in the judiciary. What President Muhammadu Buhari has started, he should spread it across. Then he should make it as a law. Let the National Assembly reciprocate.
That speaker was Dogara.
Yakubu Dogara. Okay. Very intelligent young man. Okay. You could imagine he's still in the House of Rep. That's the highest level he could go politically. If he should go by what is obtainable from his own part of the political structure in his state.
And so many states are like that.
Yeah.
Benue is like that. But some other states have exemplified equity in democracy. And they have proven that democracy is not only about the highest numbers taken.
Let me tell you something. I don't believe, I'm of the opinion that it mustn't be an Igbo man, it mustn't be an Hausa man. Okay. My opinion is let transparency, let those who know the work be given the opportunity to work. Not tribalistic, not nepotic. There should be well-structured system that can take care of virtually every tribe in Nigeria in one way or the other. Then at that point in time we have a balanced system. And mind you, a lot of people have been questioning the marriage. This marriage seems to be a failed marriage. If some of these issues are not addressed, few years to come, Nigeria may not be able to stand as a single entity. We've gone through a lot. It is a country of over 50-something years. And we are still having the challenges that young countries like South Sudan are having. That's very insulting, quite very appalling. A country that gave independence to some countries in Africa, in South Africa, if not Nigeria participated severely to give South Africa's independence, I wonder if they would have been politically liberated. Nigeria did a lot. In Congo, in Zimbabwe, in Zambia, and the country Nigeria cannot find her feet. That's very unacceptable. So I believe, and I'm of the opinion, that the tribes should be given equal opportunity to become president, to become governor, to become senator in any capacity.
I think the tribes are much. We have over 250 ethnic groups in the country. I think it is better the National Assembly look into geopolitical zones. But as for state level, like you said, Dogara was not able to become governor despite his aspirations.
Senator, he can't even be a senator because he can't make a quorum. He can't form a majority to produce him as a senator.
And so the body now is before the National Assembly and the State Assembly, isn't it? Well, after this short break, we are still discussing that the National Assembly adopt the concept of a rotational presidency across the 6 geopolitical zones of the country, as well as gubernatorial seats across senatorial zones in the state. And it is possible that the National Assembly to do this for egalitarianism, for equity, tranquility, and one. Please stay tuned and watch this little clip by our founding fathers.
Provided that Nigeria continues to ensure the safety of the persons and property of Biafrans as citizens of one united country, where all its nationals shall be treated as social equals without any discrimination, and where there shall be equality of opportunity for all citizens and inhabitants, there is no tangible reason for the civil war to continue one day longer.
When we hear the world crying out for peace, we may receive the inspiration to deal with these intractable problems and be able really to devote all our resources to the advancement of mankind by applying those eternal truths which will inevitably persist long after we ourselves are utterly forgotten.
I must warn that I have written only for those Nigerians who are prepared to learn, to study, to make painstaking research, to absorb prejudices, all our leaders in particular, and the entire body of educated Nigerians in general, to a more serious, more objective, more political and social problems. I have done this because I am convinced and satisfied that only this kind of scientific and thoroughly disciplined approach can help us to evolve rapidly.
Safety of the persons and property of Biafrans as citizens of one united country, where all its nationals shall be treated as social equals without any discrimination, and where there shall be equality of opportunity for all citizens and inhabitants, there is no tangible reason for the civil war to continue one day longer.
When we hear the world crying out for peace, we may receive the inspiration to deal with these intractable problems and be able really to devote all our resources to the advancement of mankind by applying those eternal truths which will inevitably persist long after we ourselves are utterly forgotten.
I must warn that I have written only for those Nigerians who are prepared to learn, to study, to make painstaking research, to absorb prejudices, all our leaders in particular, and the entire body of educated Nigerians in general, to a more serious, more objective, more thoughtful, more constructive, and more altruistic approach to our economic, political, and social problems. I have done this because I am convinced and satisfied that only this kind of scientific and thoroughly disciplined approach can help us to evolve rapidly.
Welcome to Spectacle on Television Nigeria. I am your host, Daniel Atai. Welcome back. We have been joined by a constitutional and human rights lawyer, Barrister Edward Omaga. Barrister Edward Omaga is also an anti-corruption crusader and the president of the Global Integrity Crusade Network. and he is also the National Public Relations Officer of the International Human Rights Protection Service, Florida, United States of America. Welcome to Spectacle.
Thank you very much, sir.
All right, we are looking at the concept of rotational presidency and gubernatorial seat across the 6 geopolitical zones and senatorial axes of state levels. We are also positing this before the National Assembly as an agenda that the burden should be now to enact. What is your take, sir?
Yes, the issue of rotational presidency, and first of all, thank you for having me.
You're welcome, sir.
It's long overdue, not only presidency, because when you talk about Nigeria as an entity, of course, is made up of states, and then, of course, the presidency, as far as the executive arm is concerned, and the agitation has been on for a very long time that the constitution be amended so that it will be put in the constitution for people to know that if it is from this zone, it is going to the other zone. And it has been on and on. But what we have observed from afar, we are not members of the National Assembly, but we have observed that these issues, when it is raised either as a bill or as a motion, has always been stampeded for those who felt that their population is high enough to be able to continue to win. And when they win, the winner takes all in Nigerian politics.
And is that attitude correct for tranquility and egalitarianism?
No, it's not.
What about in democracy?
In a democratic setting, we practice democracy in Nigeria. And you agree with me that all of us are Nigerians. In the face of the law, we are equal.
Okay.
In the eyes of God, we are equal.
Okay.
But a situation whereby, because of where you come from, maybe your geopolitical zone, for instance, you have an advantage over the other person who has a lesser number in terms of the people called by this tribe or by this religion or whatsoever. It becomes, and I win because I'm from the majority, I take everything. Agitations are everywhere. And that is why you hear issues of secession, people trying to secede from the country called Nigeria. Some want to even form Biafra, some want the Oduduwa Republic, some want, they now have the Middle Belt Front, their survivor front. I can go on and on, that want to be recognized as an entity. The reason is, if you check, the inequality that they felt from the center, that they did not benefit either from whatever. You agree with me? I was just watching Nnamdi Azikiwe of blessed memory.
Okay.
He has been president of this country for a long time.
Once.
Ever since that time, do we have an Igbo man as a president of this country? Is it that they are not contesting election to that position? And then the problem is between the northern bloc and the southern bloc.
Okay.
There are a lot of inequalities. The northern bloc is the whole of the north, which if you count the number of states, are more than the southern bloc.
Yes, 19 states.
19 states against.
And within the 19 states, there is division now.
Division here and division there. So I think what the National Assembly should be looking at, in terms of constitutional amendment, to quell agitations that are ongoing here and there, is not by crushing down people, fighting these people and all the rest of it. It's by institutionalizing this democratic principle of eat and give to your brother. And what do I mean? All of us are brothers as far as Nigeria as an entity is concerned. So if presidency is in the north, for instance, as it is now, we expect that if the amendment is made, if at all the bill is allowed to pass, then maybe the next time it should be in another part of the country. Just same as governors, of a state. We have had states where a particular part of the state has never, tested the position of governor, yet they are indigenous of that state. And they keep agitating that we have what it takes to deliver as a governor, and they will not allow them to be. In that situation, that apathy to governance, that I don't like the next person because they hijack what belongs, the position that belongs to all of us. I mean, a lot of people stay away from home. I know people who have not gone to their state for like 10 years. The reason is simple. Why do I need to go to a state when I don't have a voice in that state, where the majority of the people, the majority side takes all, and all the appointment goes with whoever wins, for instance, the governorship election, same as presidency. So there must be this balance, you know, between amongst the people, such that we have a sense of belonging, you know, because if we look at section 14, subsection 3 of the Constitution as amended, the Constitution has been amended severally and severally. Yet, what we are looking for to satisfy the yearnings and aspirations of Nigerians, we have not seen it. One of it is federal character.
Okay.
I mean, we are talking federal character because this issue of rotational presidency, rotational governorship, is not far from federal character principle.
Yes, that is why we are treating this topic today.
It's on federal character principle. And the Constitution, which is a ground norm, which all of us, you know, abide by, says in the appointment on anything, election of this, the federal character of Nigeria has to be put in mind. The fact that Nigeria is a multifaceted, multi-ethnic, and even multi-religious, you know, country has to be put in mind in deciding who is a governor, who is a president, who is a minister, and who is whatever, who gains admission into the university. And there are several of these things that have been revolving around the issue of federal character. It has not been satisfactory in the past 20-something years that we practiced.
Now, do you think it is impossible, and whose onus right now to ensure this equity?
The onus to ensure equity is in the hands, is on the head, let me put it on the head of the National Assembly.
Okay.
Because anything that is constitutional is what you can enforce. You go to court and seek that. Zone A is supposed to be, for instance, governor, and last tenure. Now Zone B is supposed to be governor, and you are not seeing it happen. The only way you can go to challenge that abnormally through the court is when it is documented, either at the National Assembly level or at the state level. But for now, what we have in some states that we have visited, you know, to record human rights issues, what we have is the people working on the basis of morality to say, if I eat, I have to give to my brother. And
you are talking about the gubernatorial
seat.
Okay.
I have to give to, and then it happens that this one take, and then it goes round and it comes back and it goes round, you know, like that in some states. But if you check majority of the states too, what happens is the winner takes all. The majority just carry their vote, they vote, and then the minority grumble and walk away.
What does it portend, actually? Does it portend any danger in the long run with 2023 in focus for both the presidency and the state gubernatorial seats? Does it portend, if these are not enshrined in the Constitution, what are we expecting, possibly?
We consequently upon this kind of situation that we found ourselves, you know, for those who have the guts, the sagacity to speak to government and speak to institutions, you know, we don't worry, we speak to them. But whether what we tell them is used to shape the polity, you know, we do not understand that one. But all we can say, I will keep saying, is that agitations abound in these areas. And unless we treat every Nigerian as equal, that is the first thing to do. If you treat me as an equal Nigerian, that if I'm from the middle beltern part of the country, if the western state man, the man from the Yoruba land, can be president, and you make me understand that I can be president too, you will not find me agitate. You will not find me say I want to separate from the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I will relax, because I know in the next tenure, after 2-3 tenures, it will come to us. And if it comes to us, it may not be me as a person, but it might be somebody from my state or from my region, maybe say North Central as a whole, that will become that presidency. And that is why we have elections that are marked with violence. So, answering your question now, the violence that we record in the election is because somebody wants to ensure that I must win by all means. Take for instance, and if we zone presidential election to say, let it go to so part of the country, by virtue of constitutional provision, it was only that part of the country that will be contesting within themselves and amongst themselves. It becomes very easy. If my zone is not participating, I have no business going to buy the form to say I want to be president. And so it reduces the cost of governance, it reduces the cost of election itself. Because the cost of election that we've been spending money too much on election is why we have underdevelopment. It's why we have underdevelopment in a situation where, you allow people, all manner of people from all parts of the country to buy the form for presidential election. All of them are spending money and all that. This money is supposed to be used for developmental projects at the grassroots. And we have been
okay, thank you very much, Barrister. But in contrast with, we are practicing a congressional or presidential system of democracy with, like United States of America. What we practice here, is it obtainable there from your experience as a Bintu? And at the same time, could you say the issue on ground, the problems on ground, the agitations and so on, and the inequalities are to be blamed on the National Assembly?
Yes, of course. Like I said, our own kind of presidential system of government, though tailored after that of United States of America, you agree with me that it is not practiced the same way.
Okay.
Even though you also notice that our capitalism, the way we practice it, though copy from the United States of America mostly, is not also practiced the same way. That it should have been practiced. We live in a country where everything is done at the extreme. At the extreme means it is very, very high. If we say electoral violence, it is here that it is very, very high. Okay? If you talk about the National Assembly, who should do this? Who should make this work? Rotational presidency and governorship. It falls back to either the National Assembly or the state assembly, for instance, because the Mr. President, for instance, cannot stand up one day and say the next election is going to go to the east. You know that he cannot do that because he needs a legal backing to be able to make that pronouncement. Who will bring about this constitutional change that will suit everybody is still the National Assembly. How well have they been able to agitate in that light and say, let there be memos, let there be bills sponsored, and let us stand by the bills, let all Nigerians go and debate the bill and see whether it will get through and be documented as a law. We have not. Because those who are benefiting will quickly lobby themselves, gang up, and kill such a bill in less than how many days of it being moved on the floor in the National Assembly. Because they are saying, let us go by number, democracy's number. If you can win by population, you take it. But if I would tell you the truth, because we tell ourselves the hard truth, those who claim to be populous, like more in number, that claim that we must always have position, we must always be the president, we must always be the governor, go and check your record. They win the election, they are the ones sitting there, but their people suffer the most. Their people suffer the most, though they are the ones at the helms of affairs. Because when you chase me away from contesting election and winning, what do? I fall back to my business, I fall back to my law practice, I fall back to whatever farming I will do. Then I see you coming to take food from me, from my area, and business materials from my area, because I am not so much interested in the politics of the center. So I leave it for you, for them who are there, and then I go back to my chef to develop myself. And that's why you see that those that they call minority in every state or in the federation, go and check the records. They are better positioned in terms of development.
All right, Honorable Joko, you were agitating to say something as regard the honors, whose honors it is. Do you see the current, this 9th National Assembly as potent and competent, or could be willing to carry out such ambiguous responsibility? Let me not put the word ambiguous, because it is a possibility if the political willingness is there. Do you see Ahmed Lawan, Femi Gbajabiamila, taking the pace for this kind of agenda?
Like you said, ordinarily it shouldn't be an issue. It should be a very smooth journey for the National Assembly. But the problem is the leadership of the National Assembly seems to be one-sided. It seems to be in line with President Muhammadu Buhari's own choice.
But President Muhammadu Buhari just integrated some people and reconciled them. And
that's different. So that's different. He integrated. He got the retired soldiers of Biafrans to be compensated.
Yes.
Very much commendable.
To be paid their duly gratuity and pension.
Yeah, commendable. Very good. But it's different from when you are now tussling for presidency. Now we are discussing on how it can be rotated, how different tribes can test, the president. Like he said, Igbo man, I think it was only President late Nnamdi Azikiwe, who was one of the founding fathers. I think that was the only Igbo man there. And it's been over how many years? More than 59 years. Still the same issue. No Igbo man had tested the presidency. Same with so many tribes in this country. Yorubas have tested. So the National Assembly, under leadership of Lawal, ordinarily, for us to maintain sanctity, it shouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
We elected them there to legislate and do things for stability and progress of this country. But going by, trying not to offend the man who, like he said, some people like, I call them foot soldiers. They get their people on the platform so that their interests will be protected, so that no one comes to challenge them. On that platform, I may not subscribe, to the fact that it's going to be easy in the current National Assembly leadership.
Okay.
Because the leadership is 70 to 90% loyal to APC government.
Okay.
Currently, I think it's only Senator Engineer Baribe that seems to be
but when a political party factor is abstract here, what I'm trying to see is the willingness of the executive. If an executive president has moved to have done something like reintegrating people who were adjudged to be anti-government, like the Biafran retired soldiers, compensated them, paid them, don't you see the willingness to even continue for more reconciliatory agenda like rotating the presidency? Remember, I said I am for nobody and I am for everybody.
Yeah, Dan, what President Muhammadu Buhari did, and like I said, very much commendable.
Unprecedented.
Very unprecedented. Not quite very unprecedented. It's long overdue.
Okay.
We should have expected that. Doing it now is good, but it should have been done earlier.
But it was not done.
It was not done.
And then because the political willingness wasn't there.
Okay.
And then he did it.
Mind you, the same President Muhammadu Buhari gave a national honor to Babagana Kingibe and later Abiola.
Exactly.
And Abiola was never president, but he gave him GCFR.
Yes.
So, well commendable. But
because we assumed that the man won his
Abiola's
election.
family will tell you, why did he wait all these years to come up and accept the fact that he won the election? The same President Buhari worked with the late Abuja in his government. Let's not deceive ourselves. That's the truth. Let's be realistic. Let's be objective. That's why sometimes I like us to be very objective.
Okay.
What National Assembly will have today, 70% of their function, if it's contrary to the interest of the executive, they will not do it. I met Senator Engineer Baribe, and he said a lot of things. For the fact, few months ago, let me take you down the line. Few months ago, the federal government wanted to take a 22-point-something billion loan. No single senator opposed it, except the minority leader, who was Senator Engineer Baribe.
Now, I know what you are talking about.
And I'm sorry. When Engineer Baribe stood up, what happened? He said, for the fact that a whole zone, southeast, was not found worthy for any project to be cited in that zone. But notwithstanding, let us take it line by line, one after the other.
Set agenda for the president. That is why you are here. And that is why Barrister is here. For the president, the National Assembly, and the state assemblies. And that is what we are looking at. We will continue this very topic tomorrow so that we nail it explicitly. Because if we know our problems, we should be able to handle them. And I see this presidency under this administration as willing to unite in the country. I am positive. I'm very optimistic.
I'm a politician. Yes. I don't like to be religious.
I'm a small politician.
I don't want to sound religious. Let's face the facts.
I'm a small politician too, and I'm coming up just like at your level. But if you are to set agenda for Mr. President over this rotational presidency and gubernatorial rotation across senatorial zones, would you say he should do it or he should shy away from it?
He should do it.
So that is why I say set agenda for him and tell him what he should do and why he should do it.
Okay. Very straight.
Yes.
President Muhammadu Buhari should wake up. I respect him so much. Okay. He's our father. Yes. He experienced the Civil War. He experienced so many events that happened in this country. He should wake up. Get the young people on the platform. Get the zones that are being marginalized on the platform. The Southeast should be part of the decision making in this country. Okay. The South, the Southwest, they've tested their own. The Middle Belt. I'm even happy. Sorry, I need to digress a bit. I was telling some people, I said, I'm even happy what's happening in the Middle Belt. Because before, they never believed. They fully believed that they were part of the North.
Set agenda straight.
So President Muhammadu Buhari should be able to wake up, get every hands on the deck, get the power rotated, let the zones that hadn't produced the presidency given the opportunity to produce presidency, let the National Assembly be completely, not just detribalized, but they should focus on the real rules of engagements. As lawmakers, and do the lawmaking, and let the judiciary also be pure in their judgments.
Thank you very much for coming into Spectacle. We just have 2 minutes left. Barrister, on rounding up the program, set agenda for the state assembly, and then advise the National Assembly also on what to do.
Okay, thank you very much.
As regard the state gubernatorial rotation.
The state and then the national, the presidency.
Yes.
It's straightforward. I align myself with his position. Just that we know, like he said, that the bill was raised and nobody said anything except 1 or 2 persons. You see what we suffer. So if this kind of a bill is put on the floor, you can imagine what will happen. Kill it, drop it, you cannot go about it.
What if the president is willing?
That is why I say if the president is willing.
And the president of the Senate, remember they are different
of
arms.
The Senate and the president of the Senate cannot do it alone. The highest that President Muhammadu Buhari can do, because he told us that this government is the government for the old people.
Okay.
That if he is done with the government, he will relinquish power to the young people.
Okay.
And I know he's a man of integrity. He has not changed what he told us. So having said that, he should sponsor a private bill, an executive bill by himself from the presidency to the National Assembly and say from now on begin to debate and see how we can pass this thing into law so that as I step out of office, what we'll be hearing again will be rotational presidency. Unless he does that personally, I don't see the real power, strength to really give power not only to the young people, but to make it rotate. And then I will also add that the private sector has a lot of work to do here.
Exactly.
Because if you leave it to the National Assembly as people, the interest of each individual interest will come in. But the NGOs, the civil society organizations, all manner of people who can sponsor private bills, this is the time to do it. Either at the level of the state, you sponsor, you pass through your representative and see how you can lobby, mobilize people to lobby until you get the bill passed into law.
Thank you very much for coming on Spectacle. I have been speaking with Barrister Omaga Edward, a human rights and constitutional lawyer, as well as Honorable Nzube Ojukwu, a grandson of the former Biafran warlord Odumegwu Ojukwu, and is also a political economist. They have been with us on Spectacle today. We have been discussing National Assembly to adopt the concept of rotational presidency as well as gubernatorial rotation across senatorial zones. I have been Daniel Atai. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to follow us on our social media platforms.
Welcome to Spectacle on Television Nigeria. I am your host, Daniel.